The cargo freighter tumbled through space like a broken toy, trailing smoke and debris. Inside, Captain Reed struggled with controls that refused to respond. Warning lights painted his weathered face red as the ship screamed toward the fortress moon below. He had time for one thought before impact. At least Brutus was secured in his containment pod. The crash shook Talus 7 like an earthquake. Imperial guards rushed toward the smoking wreckage, weapons ready. Commander Oren watched from the command center, his 3 eyes narrowed with suspicion. Earthships were rare this deep in Dominion space. Rarer still were ships that crashed directly onto military installations. "Secure the vessel," Oren commanded. "Take any survivors for questioning." The guards approached carefully, scanning for weapons and hazardous materials. The freighter was small, barely larger than a personal transport. Its hull bore scorch marks from what looked like a recent firefight. One guard pried open the main hatch while others covered him with plasma rifles. Reed lay unconscious in the pilot's seat, bleeding from a head wound. 2 guards dragged him out roughly, not caring if they caused more injury. A medical team arrived to assess whether he would survive long enough to interrogate. Behind them, more guards entered the ship to catalog its contents. The cargo hold contained standard freight containers, most of them damaged from the crash. One guard's scanner detected biological readings from a large reinforced pod near the back. He approached it cautiously, noting the Earth military markings on its side. The label read, "Live Cargo, Extreme Caution, Project Guardian." "Commander, we have some kind of animal transport here," the guard reported through his communicator. Oren's voice crackled back. "Scan it and catalog it. If it survived the crash, take it to the biology labs." The guard ran his scanner over the pod. The readings were strange. Whatever was inside had an elevated heart rate and unusual thermal signatures. He noted thick claw marks on the inside of the transparent section, as if something had tried to escape before. The guard shrugged and signaled his team to load the pod onto a transport sled. As they moved it, the pod shifted. Something inside slammed against the wall hard enough to dent the metal. The guards jumped back, weapons raised. "It's still alive," one muttered nervously. "Just get it to the labs," the team leader ordered. "Let the scientists deal with it." They loaded the pod onto a hover platform and began moving it through the fortress corridors. Other soldiers stopped to stare at the strange Earth container. Some laughed, making jokes about what primitive creatures humans might keep as pets. The Dominion had conquered 47 worlds. They had seen countless alien species. One Earth animal was hardly worth concern. The biology lab was located 3 levels down in the research wing. Scientists there studied captured weapons and technology from enemy species. Adding an Earth creature to their collection would be interesting, if only for academic purposes, but the transport never reached the lab. As the hover platform moved through a narrow corridor, the pod began shaking violently. The guard stopped, unsure what to do. Inside the container, something roared with a sound that seemed impossible for its size. Then came a horrible screech of tearing metal. The reinforced pod exploded outward in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. A creature burst free, moving faster than the guards could track. It was low to the ground, powerfully built with a distinctive black and white striped face. Its eyes burned with pure aggression. Brutus had escaped. One guard managed to raise his weapon before the honey badger hit him like a missile. Teeth and claws flashed. The guard's armor meant nothing. He went down screaming. His partner fired wildly, the plasma bolt scorching the wall as Brutus dodged with impossible speed. The second guard died before he could fire again. Alarms began wailing throughout the fortress. Brutus stood over the bodies, blood on his claws, and looked around with calculating intelligence. This was not a normal animal. Earth's genetic engineers had enhanced him, pushed his already formidable abilities to superhuman levels. Increased muscle density, accelerated healing, enhanced cognitive function. They had created the perfect survivor, and now he was loose in an enemy fortress. Brutus studied the corridor, processing information with his augmented brain. He could smell thousands of aliens nearby, sensed the vibrations of their movements through the floor. His enhanced instincts told him this was dangerous territory. The old Brutus would have fought everything in sight. The new Brutus was smarter. He looked up at a ventilation grate on the wall, calculating distances and angles. With a powerful leap, he grabbed the metal and ripped it free. The opening was barely large enough, but honey badgers were experts at squeezing through tight spaces. He pulled himself inside and disappeared into the ductwork. By the time additional guards arrived at the scene, they found only bodies and an empty pod. The ventilation grate lay twisted on the floor, a dark hole leading into the fortress's infrastructure. Commander Oren arrived minutes later, staring at the carnage with disbelief. 2 trained soldiers killed in seconds by an animal smaller than most of them. He accessed the security footage, watching the attack in slow motion. The creature moved with purpose, with strategy. It had targeted weak points in the armor, gone for killing blows immediately. "What is that thing?" his second officer asked. Oren replayed the footage again. "According to the ship's manifest, it's called a honey badger, a species from Earth known for aggressive behavior." He paused. "But this one has been modified, enhanced. Should we seal the ventilation system and trap it somewhere we can't find it?" "No." Oren straightened, refusing to show fear over a simple animal. "Send security teams to hunt it down. It's just one creature. We have thousands of soldiers. This will be resolved within the hour." His confidence would prove to be catastrophically misplaced. Deep in the ventilation system, Brutus crawled through the darkness, following air currents and listening to the sounds of the fortress. He had survived the African savanna, endured genetic experiments, and lived through a ship crash. This was just another challenge, and honey badgers never backed down from a challenge. The hunt was beginning, but the Dominion Empire did not yet understand who was the hunter and who was the prey. Security Chief Vorn assembled his team with military precision, selecting 12 of his best hunters. Each carried plasma rifles, stun nets, and tracking equipment. They wore full combat armor designed to withstand explosions and energy weapons. Hunting down one small Earth creature seemed like overkill, but Commander Oren had ordered overwhelming force. "The target is somewhere in the lower ventilation systems," Vorn briefed his team. "Approximately 20 pounds, enhanced physiology, extremely aggressive. Our job is simple, find it and eliminate it." One soldier laughed. 20 pounds? We've hunted prey 10 times that size on the training worlds." Vorn did not share the humor. He had seen the security footage. The way that creature moved, the intelligence in its attack pattern, bothered him more than he wanted to admit. But orders were orders, and Dominion soldiers did not fear animals. They entered the lower levels through access corridors, splitting into 3 teams of 4. Their scanners showed heat signatures in the ductwork, but the readings were scattered and confusing. The ventilation system was vast, connecting every part of the fortress in a maze of metal tunnels. Team 1 moved through the armory level, checking each vent opening methodically. The corridor was lined with weapons lockers and ammunition storage. Their scanner indicated a heat signature ahead, moving slowly through a large duct overhead. "Contact," the team leader whispered. "Target is 30 meters ahead, elevated position." They aimed their weapons at the vent grate, preparing to fire the moment the creature appeared. The heat signature moved closer, almost directly above them now. Then it stopped. For a long moment, nothing happened. The soldiers waited, fingers on triggers, eyes locked on the grate. Brutus dropped from a side vent they had not been watching. He hit the nearest soldier from behind, claws finding the weak joints in the armor around the neck. The soldier went down instantly. The others spun to fire, but Brutus was already moving, using the fallen soldier's body as a shield. Plasma bolts scorched the armor as the honey badger darted between their legs, too fast and too low for their weapons to track effectively. The second soldier fell with a torn throat. The third managed to activate his stun net, but Brutus dodged it with a twisting leap that seemed to defy physics. He landed on a weapons locker, then launched himself at the fourth soldier's face. The armor's helmet shattered under the impact. Team 1 was eliminated in less than 15 seconds. Brutus stood among the bodies, breathing hard but unhurt. The plasma rifles had missed him completely. His enhanced healing was already closing the small cuts from armor fragments. He looked at the weapons locker, recognizing them as tools of violence even if he could not use them properly. With deliberate intention, he began pawing at the locker's control panel. His enhanced intelligence had been studying the fortress's technology since his escape. The symbols meant nothing to him, but patterns did. He pressed buttons randomly, methodically, learning through trial and error. The locker opened. Inside were grenades, dozens of them, stored in neat rows. Brutus did not understand explosives, but he understood the concept of creating chaos. He grabbed a grenade in his teeth, bit down experimentally, then threw it across the room when it started beeping. The explosion destroyed half the armory. Alarms shrieked across all levels of the fortress. Commander Oren watched in horror as his tactical display showed the armory level going dark. The explosion had damaged power conduits and triggered automatic fire suppression systems. "What happened?" he demanded. "Unknown, Commander. Team 1 is not responding. The armory has suffered catastrophic damage." Oren pulled up the security footage, but the cameras in that section were offline. He switched to thermal imaging and saw a small heat signature moving away from the blast zone through the ventilation system, apparently unharmed. "It caused that explosion," Oren said slowly. "That animal deliberately destroyed our armory." His officers looked at each other nervously. Animals did not think strategically. They did not sabotage military installations. This was beyond their training and experience. "Send teams 2 and 3, Oren ordered, "and authorize heavy weapons. I want that creature dead." In the medical bay, Captain Reed regained consciousness to the sound of explosions. His head throbbed where it had struck the pilot console during the crash. A Dominion medic stood over him, scanning his injuries with alien equipment. "What happened?" Reed mumbled. "Your ship crashed on our fortress," the medic said coldly. "You are a prisoner of the Dominion Empire. You will be questioned when Commander Oren is ready." Reed tried to sit up, but restraints held him to the medical bed. His mind was foggy, but memory was returning in pieces. The firefight in space, the damaged engines, the emergency landing. And Brutus, his enhanced guard animal, locked in the cargo hold. "The containment pod," Reed said urgently. "Did you secure it properly?" The medic ignored him, continuing his scans. In the distance, another explosion shook the fortress. The medic's expression shifted from annoyance to concern. Reed closed his eyes. That answered his question. Brutus was loose. Teams 2 and 3 converged on the water treatment facility where the thermal scanners had tracked their target. The room was massive, filled with purification tanks and filtration systems that recycled water for the entire fortress. Pipes ran everywhere, creating a maze of metal and flowing water. "Spread out," the senior team leader ordered. "Use the heavy scanners. It has to be here somewhere." The soldiers advanced carefully, checking behind every tank and pipe. Their scanners showed multiple heat signatures, all roughly the same size. The water system was confusing their equipment, creating false readings from the temperature differences in the pipes. One soldier bent down to check under a low pipe. Brutus exploded from the shadows, hitting him in the chest hard enough to crack armor. The soldier flew backward into a purification tank with a splash. The others opened fire immediately, plasma bolts lighting up the chamber. But Brutus was already gone, disappearing behind the tanks. They heard scratching sounds, metal being torn, then a horrible hissing noise. A pipe burst, spraying pressurized water across the room. The soldiers scattered as more pipes began failing, flooding the floor. Brutus had systematically damaged the water system, creating chaos and limiting their mobility. He attacked from the water itself, emerging from the flooding to drag soldiers down. The heavy armor that protected them from weapons became a liability in the rising water. They could not move fast enough, could not aim properly with water spraying in their faces. 3 died before they could retreat. 2 more were critically wounded, dragged to safety by their teammates. The survivors regrouped in the corridor, soaked and terrified. "What is that thing?" one gasped. His team leader had no answer. He had fought in 5 campaigns across 3 worlds. He had hunted dangerous prey on death worlds where everything had evolved to kill. But he had never encountered anything like this honey badger. It fought with intelligence, with purpose, adapting to every situation. Commander Oren reviewed the casualty reports with growing fury. 15 soldiers dead, 8 wounded, an armory destroyed. The water treatment facility offline. All from one Earth animal weighing less than 30 pounds. "Get me the human pilot," he ordered. They brought Reed to the command center in restraints, still injured, but conscious. Oren studied him with barely controlled rage. "What is that creature?" Oren demanded. Reed looked at the commander steadily despite his pain. "His name is Brutus. He's a honey badger from Earth, genetically enhanced for intelligence and physical abilities." "Why do you keep such dangerous creatures?" "Because Earth is a dangerous planet," Reed said simply. "You need to understand something about my world, Commander. Everything there evolved to survive in the harshest conditions imaginable. And honey badgers were already apex predators before we enhanced them." Oren's face darkened. "We will kill it." "You can try," Reed said. "But honey badgers don't know how to give up. It's not in their nature. You've made him angry, scared, and cornered. That's the worst possible combination. As if to prove Reed's point, another explosion echoed through the fortress. Somewhere in the lower levels, Brutus had found more things to destroy. The honey badger was not just surviving, he was thriving. The fortress descended into chaos as Brutus systematically destroyed critical infrastructure. Power conduits exploded in showers of sparks, plunging entire sections into emergency lighting. The honey badger had discovered that the glowing tubes carried energy, and breaking them caused the aliens to panic. He liked watching them panic. In the darkened corridors of Level 7, Brutus paused to groom the blood from his claws. His enhanced mind processed everything he had learned about this strange metal den. The aliens moved in predictable patterns, always checking high before low. They relied too much on their glowing weapons and not enough on their senses. They were hunters who had forgotten how to hunt. He was teaching them to remember. Commander Oren stood before a holographic display showing the fortress layout. Red markers indicated damaged sections. Yellow markers showed confirmed sightings of the creature. The markers were spreading like a disease, concentrating around vital systems. "It's targeting our infrastructure deliberately," Junior Officer Lena observed. She was young for her rank, with the sharp analytical mind that had earned her position. Power, water, life support. It knows which systems are important. "Impossible," Oren snapped. "It's an animal reacting on instinct. Instinct doesn't explain this pattern." Lena highlighted the tactical map. "Look at the progression. It started with the armory, removing our weapons stockpile, then water treatment, limiting our mobility and creating confusion. Now it's hitting power distribution, reducing our sensor effectiveness. This is strategic thinking." Oren did not want to believe it, but the evidence was clear. He turned to Reed, who sat in restraints nearby watching the chaos with a grim expression. "You will help us recapture this creature," Oren commanded. Reed raised an eyebrow. "Why would I do that?" "Because if you don't, I will execute every human prisoner in this fortress." Oren leaned close. "There are 17 of your people in our detention levels. Their lives depend on your cooperation." Reed's jaw tightened. He knew Oren was not bluffing. The Dominion Empire did not make empty threats. "Fine, but we do this my way, not yours. You are in no position to make demands. I'm in the only position that matters," Reed said. "I know how honey badgers think. I know how enhanced honey badgers think even better, because I helped train Brutus. Your soldiers are dying because they're treating him like a target instead of a person. He's smart enough to be a person now, whether you accept that or not." Oren considered this, then nodded curtly. "Officer Lena will accompany you. Any sign of betrayal and she has orders to kill you immediately." They removed Reed's restraints but fitted him with an explosive collar. Lena checked her sidearm and grabbed a portable scanner. Together, they headed toward the lower levels where Brutus was last detected. "You really think you can reason with that thing?" Lena asked as they walked. "No," Reed admitted. "Honey badgers don't reason. They react. But I can predict how he'll react, which gives us an advantage your soldiers don't have." They descended through damaged corridors, stepping over debris and scorch marks. The emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows. Somewhere in the distance they heard screaming. "Your people enhanced a creature that was already infamous for fearlessness and aggression," Lena said. "Why?" Reed smiled grimly. "Because sometimes you need a guard that absolutely will not back down no matter what. Brutus was supposed to protect human colonies on hostile worlds. He was meant to patrol perimeters and scare off predators. We never expected him to end up here. What made you choose honey badger specifically? On Earth, there's an old saying, honey badger don't care. They fight lions, hyenas, poisonous snakes, anything. There are videos of them breaking into vehicles, raiding camps, attacking animals 50 times their size. They're basically fearless." Reed paused at an intersection, studying claw marks on the wall. "We took that natural fearlessness and added intelligence, strength, and healing. We created the perfect survivor." Lena examined the claw marks. They were deep, gouged into reinforced metal. "How strong is he exactly?" "Strong enough to tear through steel bulkheads, apparently." A noise echoed from ahead, metal scraping on metal. Reed held up a hand, signaling silence. They moved forward carefully, weapons ready, following the sound to a large chamber that had once been a storage facility. The room was destroyed. Containers lay torn open, their contents scattered across the floor. In the center of the devastation, Brutus crouched over something, making satisfied grunting sounds. He was eating. "He's consuming their field rations," Lena whispered, checking her scanner. The biological readings show rapid growth. He's larger than the initial measurements indicated. Reed nodded slowly. The enhancements include adaptive metabolism. The more he eats, the bigger and stronger he gets. And your soldiers have been providing plenty of protein. Brutus's head snapped up, staring directly at them despite the darkness. His eyes reflected the emergency lights with an eerie shine. For a moment, everyone froze. Brutus, Reed said softly in English. Easy, buddy. It's me. The honey badger tilted his head, recognizing the voice but not trusting it. His loyalty had been to Reed once, but the crash and the attacks had awakened his primal instincts. Everyone was a threat now. We need to leave, Lena said quietly. He's preparing to charge, she was right. Brutus's muscles tensed, his claws extending. But before he could attack, a new sound filled the chamber. Heavy footsteps, lots of them, approaching fast. Elite Imperial hunters burst into the room from 3 entrances surrounding them all. These were not regular soldiers. They wore specialized armor, carried advanced weapons, and had trained specifically to hunt dangerous prey across multiple worlds. The Dominion's best warriors called in to handle what normal forces could not. Their leader, a massive alien named Garth, surveyed the scene with 4 cold eyes. The creature and the human pilot. Command wants both captured alive, Brutus snarled, recognizing a greater threat. The hunters spread out, activating energy nets and containment fields. They moved with practiced precision, cutting off escape routes. This is a mistake, Reed said urgently. You're backing him into a corner. Garth ignored him. Fire nets on my mark, but Brutus did not wait for their mark. He exploded into motion faster than before, enhanced by the nutrients he had consumed. He hit the nearest hunter low, dodging under the energy net. His claws found weak points in the advanced armor, drawing blood. The chamber erupted into violence. Hunters fired containment beams while Brutus danced between them, using their own spacing against them. He climbed walls, leaped from containers, attacked from impossible angles. Every move was calculated, intelligent, adapting to their tactics in real time. Reed and Lena dove for cover as energy blasts filled the air. Through the chaos, Reed watched in horrified fascination as Brutus fought 12 elite warriors simultaneously and held his own. One hunter fell, throat torn. Another collapsed with shattered armor. Garth roared orders, trying to coordinate his team, but Brutus had turned the battlefield into his territory. The honey badger had studied how they moved, how they fought, and was now exploiting every weakness. A lucky containment beam caught Brutus mid-leap, wrapping him in energy fields. He crashed to the ground, struggling against the invisible bonds. 3 hunters moved in for capture. Brutus bit through the energy field. It should have been impossible. The containment technology was designed to hold creatures 10 times his size. But the honey badger's enhanced jaws, combined with his absolute refusal to accept defeat, allowed him to tear through the energy itself. He freed one paw, then another, then lunged at the approaching hunters. 2 more went down, critically wounded. The others fell back, regrouping. Garth himself engaged in hand-to-hand combat, his superior size and strength against Brutus's speed and ferocity. They crashed through debris, traded blows that would kill normal creatures. Then Brutus did something unexpected. Instead of pressing the attack, he grabbed something from a fallen hunter's belt, a thermal grenade, and threw it at the wall behind them. The explosion breached the chamber's outer wall. Emergency shields activated immediately, but not before creating a gap. Brutus dove through it, disappearing into the fortress's infrastructure once more. The remaining hunters stood in the ruined chamber, surrounded by their wounded. Of the 12 elite warriors who had entered, only 5 were still standing. 3 were dead, 4 critically injured. Garth turned to Reed, breathing hard. What is that creature? Reed stood slowly from cover, helping Lena to her feet. That's a honey badger, and you just made him angrier. Somewhere in the fortress, alarms began wailing again. Brutus had found the life support systems and was doing what honey badgers do best, refusing to give up, refusing to back down, and making everyone around him regret underestimating him. The hunt had escalated into a war, and the Dominion Empire was losing. News of the Earth creature spread through the Dominion Empire's communication networks like wildfire. What started as a classified military incident became impossible to contain once casualties reached triple digits. Fortress personnel sent unauthorized messages to family and friends. Those messages became rumors. Rumors became news broadcasts. Within 2 planetary rotations, half the Empire knew about Brutus. The honey badger had become a legend. On the fortress itself, life had transformed into a nightmare. Entire sections remained on lockdown. Soldiers refused to patrol alone. The ventilation system, once a vital part of the infrastructure, was now considered enemy territory. No one entered maintenance tunnels without full combat gear and backup teams, and still, Brutus hunted. He had claimed the abandoned research wing as his territory, turning it into a fortress within the fortress. The research wing had been closed for years after a containment breach with experimental chemicals. Most of the equipment was still functional, and the contamination kept Dominion soldiers away. For Brutus, it was perfect. Reed and Lena stood outside the sealed entrance to the research wing, studying sensor readings. The explosive collar around Reed's neck was a constant reminder that his cooperation was not optional, but he had started to respect Lena's intelligence. She listened when he explained Earth predator behavior, and she had kept him from being executed 3 times when commanders wanted to blame someone for the disaster. The thermal signatures show he's built some kind of nest in the central laboratory, Lena said, manipulating the holographic display. He's been collecting items from all over the fortress. Collecting? Reed leaned closer. What kind of items? Weapons, food supplies, pieces of technology. Lena pulled up inventory reports. 47 plasma rifles are missing. Energy cells, medical supplies, even some communication devices. He's hoarding them. Reed felt a chill. He's not just surviving anymore. He's preparing for a siege. Commander Oren joined them, looking haggard. The past several days had aged him visibly. Dark circles ringed his eyes, and his uniform was stained with stress sweat. The once arrogant commander had been humbled by a 20-pound earth animal. High Command has sent reinforcements, Oren announced. Containment specialists with experimental technology, designed specifically for enhanced creatures. They arrive in 6 hours. It won't matter, Reed said. Every team you send teaches him something new. He's learning faster than you can adapt. Then what do you suggest? Oren's voice carried bitter sarcasm. Should we surrender our fortress to an animal? I suggest you let me try talking to him. Alone. Lena and Oren both stared at Reed like he had gone insane. He'll kill you, Lena said flatly. Maybe. But he knew me before the crash. I trained him, fed him, transported him. There might be some recognition left. Reed met Oren's gaze. You're going to lose more soldiers anyway. At least this way only one person dies if it goes wrong. Oren considered it. The political pressure from High Command was enormous. The embarrassment of a single Earth creature crippling a military fortress was becoming an empire-wide scandal. If the human wanted to commit suicide trying to fix it, that was acceptable. Fine, but Officer Lena monitors you remotely. Any sign that creature escapes containment, and I seal the research wing permanently with both of you inside. They gave Reed a communication device and basic protective gear, though everyone knew it would not help if Brutus decided to attack. Reed approached the sealed entrance, taking deep breaths to calm his racing heart. The doors opened with a mechanical groan. Reed stepped inside alone. The research wing was darker than the rest of the fortress, emergency lighting barely functional after years of neglect. Reed's footsteps echoed off metal walls covered in old warning symbols. The air smelled strange, chemicals mixed with something organic. He followed the claw marks on the floor, knowing they would lead to Brutus. The marks were everywhere, some old and faded, others fresh. The honey badger had explored every inch of this territory, mapping it completely. The central laboratory doors hung open, torn from their hinges. Reed entered cautiously, scanning the darkness. What he saw made him stop in amazement. Brutus had transformed the laboratory into something between a nest and a fortress. Equipment was stacked strategically to create barriers and hiding spots. Stolen plasma rifles were arranged in piles along with energy cells and other technology. Food supplies were stored in a corner, carefully organized. The honey badger had even activated some of the old computer terminals, their screens glowing with incomprehensible data. And in the center of it all, Brutus sat watching him. The honey badger had grown. Enhanced metabolism combined with abundant protein had added muscle mass and size. He was nearly twice as large as when he escaped, powerfully built, with scars from numerous battles marking his black and white fur. "Hey, buddy," Reed said softly in English. "Remember me?" Brutus tilted his head, studying Reed with intelligent eyes. Recognition flickered there, memory of training sessions and transport flights. But also suspicion. The crash had broken something between them. Trust was gone, replaced by survival instinct. "I know you're scared," Reed continued, moving slowly closer. "I know everything went wrong and now you're fighting for your life. But you don't have to do this alone anymore." Brutus growled, a low rumble of warning. His claws scraped against the metal floor. Reed stopped advancing. "I'm not going to hurt you. I never wanted any of this to happen." Through the communication device, Lena's voice whispered in his ear. "Reed, his body language indicates imminent attack." "You should retreat." Reed ignored her. He sat down on the floor, making himself smaller, less threatening. It was a technique he had used during Brutus's initial training. Show submission, show trust, and sometimes the predator would respond with curiosity instead of aggression. "You've made quite a home here," Reed said conversationally. "Very strategic placement of those plasma rifles." "I taught you well." Brutus's ears perked up. He recognized the tone of voice from training sessions. The growling stopped. "You know what the problem is," Reed continued. "You're too good at surviving. You've scared the Empire so badly they're going to keep sending soldiers until either you die or this entire fortress is destroyed, and neither of those outcomes is good for you." The honey badger moved closer, sniffing the air. He could smell that Reed was unarmed, could sense the genuine emotion in his voice. "I have an idea," Reed said. "What if we work together one more time? Like old times. You help me end this peacefully, and I make sure you get somewhere safe, somewhere you can live without constantly fighting." Brutus sat down, processing this. His enhanced intelligence understood the words even if he could not speak. He understood offers and bargains from his training. And some deep part of him, the part that had bonded with this human before genetics and violence changed everything, wanted to trust again. But before Reed could continue, alarms shrieked through the fortress. Lena's voice erupted from the communicator in panic. "Reed, get out of there now. Command has authorized an orbital strike. They're going to destroy the research wing regardless of whether you're inside." Reed's blood went cold. He looked at Brutus and saw understanding in those intelligent eyes. The honey badger knew betrayal when he saw it. Every instinct Reed had built during training, every moment of trust shattered in that instant. Brutus roared and lunged not at Reed but at the laboratory's external wall. His enhanced strength combined with pure rage allowed him to tear through reinforced metal. He was not attacking Reed, he was trying to escape the death sentence Orn had just authorized. "Wait," Reed shouted into the communicator. "He's not attacking. He's trying to run!" "It's too late," Lena responded. "The strike package launches in 3 minutes. You need to evacuate immediately." Reed ran after Brutus, following the honey badger through the breach in the wall. They emerged into a maintenance corridor, alarms wailing around them. Soldiers appeared at the far end, weapons raised. Brutus did not hesitate. He charged straight at them, a living missile of fury and desperation. Soldiers scattered, firing wildly, but the honey badger moved like liquid death. He tore through their formation, leaving chaos in his wake. Reed followed, shouting for them to stand down, knowing it was useless. The fortress had descended into total panic. Everywhere soldiers ran for evacuation points, abandoning their posts. An orbital strike on the research wing would damage half the fortress. It was a desperate, catastrophic decision that proved one thing absolutely. Earth had won. One enhanced honey badger had brought the Dominion Empire's military pride to its knees. They were willing to destroy their own fortress rather than continue fighting him. That truth would echo across every world in the Empire and beyond. Brutus disappeared into the ventilation system one final time, and Reed lost track of him. Emergency shuttles began launching, evacuating personnel. Reed found Lena in the chaos and she grabbed his arm. "This way," she ordered. "Command wants you alive for questioning." As they ran for the evacuation bay, Reed looked back at the fortress one last time. Somewhere in that massive structure, Brutus was still fighting, still surviving, proving that Earth's evolutionary crucible created creatures that simply could not be defeated by conventional means. The orbital strike illuminated the sky like a second sun, and the research wing exploded into flames. But Reed suspected deep in his heart that honey badgers don't care about explosions either. They just keep going. The orbital strike had failed to kill Brutus. The containment specialists found this out when they discovered a tunnel system beneath the research wing that the honey badger had excavated days earlier. While the Empire destroyed its own facility, Brutus had been 3 levels down, systematically turning the lower fortress into a labyrinth designed for guerrilla warfare. Commander Oren stood in the damaged command center, watching reports flood in from across the Empire. The news networks were calling it the Battle of Talus 7. Editorial broadcasts questioned how a military fortress could be brought to the edge of destruction by a single Earth creature. Political opponents of the military expansion used Brutus as proof that the Dominion had grown complacent, weak. But the worst reports came from within the fortress itself. Morale had collapsed completely. Soldiers refused orders to hunt the creature. 3 entire battalions had requested immediate transfer. The fortress, once a symbol of Dominion power, had become a prison where everyone lived in fear of a 20-pound predator. "We need to end this," Oren said to his remaining officers. "Not for military reasons, for political survival." His second-in-command nodded grimly. "High Command has given you 48 hours to resolve the situation before they remove you from duty and glass the entire moon from orbit." Oren turned to where Reed and Lena stood under guard. The human pilot had proven surprisingly useful as an advisor, even if his predictions were always grim. Officer Lena had developed an almost friendly relationship with the prisoner, which concerned Oren but was tactically advantageous. "I'm going to hunt that creature personally," Oren announced. "I will take my best remaining soldiers into the lower fortress and we will not return until it's dead." Reed shook his head. "That's suicide. Then I die restoring honor to my command." Oren's 3 eyes blazed with desperate determination. "Unless you have a better suggestion?" "Let me try to capture him again," Reed said. "But this time no backup plans, no orbital strikes, no betrayals. Just me and Brutus, one-on-one. And if he kills you?" Reed smiled grimly. "Then at least you'll have video footage of an Earth creature defeating an Earth human. Might help with the propaganda." Oren considered this. The political reality was simple. He needed Brutus dead or captured, and every conventional attempt had failed catastrophically. Allowing the human one final attempt cost nothing and might actually work. Agreed. "But I'm leading a team into the lower fortress anyway. If your attempt fails, we finish this with overwhelming force." Oren began selecting soldiers for his assault team. "Officer Lena, you will monitor the humans' progress and coordinate with my team." Lena saluted, though her expression showed concern. She had come to respect Reed's knowledge and even his strange affection for the dangerous creature. Sending him alone against Brutus felt wrong. "Be careful," she told Reed quietly as they prepared his equipment. "Honey badgers don't care about careful," Reed replied, but he appreciated the sentiment. They gave him tracking equipment and a specialized tranquilizer designed specifically for Earth megafauna. The chemical compound could drop an elephant in seconds. Whether it would work on an enhanced honey badger was unknown, but it was the best option available. Reed descended into the lower fortress alone, following the path of destruction Brutus had carved through the infrastructure. The honey badger had transformed these levels into a nightmare maze. Support beams were cut at strategic points, ready to collapse with a touch. Floors were weakened to create traps. Every shadow could hide an ambush. It was brilliant, terrifying, and absolutely consistent with enhanced honey badger psychology. "Brutus," Reed called out in English, his voice echoing through empty corridors. "I know you can hear me. I know you're watching. We need to talk." Silence answered him, but Reed could feel eyes on him, could sense the predator's presence. Brutus was nearby, evaluating, deciding whether to attack or listen. "They're going to destroy this entire moon rather than let you live," Reed continued, moving slowly forward. "You've won, buddy. You've proven Earth's dominance, but winning doesn't matter if you die in the process." A scraping sound came from above. Reed looked up to see Brutus perched on a damaged pipe, staring down at him. The honey badger had grown even larger, muscles rippling under scarred fur. His eyes glowed with fierce intelligence. "There he is," Reed said softly. "The most dangerous creature in the galaxy." Brutus growled but did not attack. He was curious why Reed kept coming back, kept talking. The human had never hurt him during training. Even during the chaos of the fortress, Reed had tried to help, not harm. "I have a proposal," Reed said. "You let me tranquilize you peacefully and I personally guarantee your safety. I'll make sure you get transported back to Earth, to a sanctuary where you can live without fighting." The honey badger tilted his head, considering. His enhanced mind understood the offer but also understood betrayal. The Empire had tried to kill him repeatedly. Why should he trust any of them now? Before Reed could continue his negotiation, explosions echoed through the fortress. Oren's assault team had entered the lower levels from a different access point, moving in formation with heavy weapons. Brutus's ears flattened. His lips pulled back in a snarl. The sound of soldiers meant fighting, and he was very good at fighting. "Wait," Reed said urgently. "Don't engage them. Let me handle this." But Oren's team was already advancing through the maze Brutus had created. They moved cautiously, checking every shadow, weapons ready for instant response. The team leader used thermal imaging to track heat signatures through the walls. "Contact," he whispered. "Multiple signatures ahead. The creature is setting up an ambush." Oren, leading from the center of the formation, smiled grimly. "Let it try. We're ready this time." They were not ready. Brutus had spent days preparing the lower fortress for exactly this scenario. He had studied how the Dominion soldiers moved, how they thought, how they fought. Now he would use that knowledge to destroy them. The first trap triggered when the lead soldier stepped on a weakened floor panel. The metal gave way, dropping him into a pit lined with broken pipes. His screams were cut short. The team scattered, but that was exactly what Brutus wanted. Divided, they were vulnerable. He struck from the ventilation system, from behind debris, from angles they could not predict or defend against. His claws found weak points in armor. His teeth crushed communication devices. Every attack was precise, calculated, devastating. Oren watched in horror as his carefully planned assault disintegrated into chaos. His soldiers were not fighting an animal. They were fighting a tactical genius who happened to have claws and fur. "Fall back," Oren ordered. "Regroup at the access point." But Brutus had already blocked their retreat route. A section of ceiling collapsed, triggered by support beams the honey badger had sabotaged earlier. The team was trapped in the maze, separated from each other, being hunted methodically. Reed ran through the chaos, trying to reach both Brutus and the soldiers before more people died. "Stand down," he shouted. "Everyone stop fighting." No one listened. The battle had become personal for both sides. Soldiers wanted revenge for fallen comrades. Brutus wanted survival and had learned that survival meant eliminating threats permanently. Oren found himself separated from his team, alone in a dark corridor. His weapon showed half charge. His armor had cracks from near misses. He could hear his soldiers dying in the distance. Could hear that horrible snarling sound getting closer. Then Brutus was there, emerging from shadows like a nightmare made flesh. They faced each other in the narrow corridor. Commander of a fortress versus Earth's perfect survivor. Oren raised his weapon, but Brutus was already moving. The honey badger dodged the plasma bolt with contemptuous ease, closing the distance in a heartbeat. They fought hand to hand, Oren's size and training against Brutus's speed and ferocity. The commander was no amateur warrior. He had fought in real combat, had killed enemies in close quarters, but nothing had prepared him for fighting something that absolutely refused to feel pain, refused to acknowledge fear, refused to accept defeat. Brutus's claws tore through Oren's armor. The commander's strikes, powerful enough to break bones, seemed to barely slow the honey badger down. Enhanced healing closed wounds almost as fast as Oren could inflict them. The commander fell to his knees, blood pouring from multiple lacerations. Brutus stood over him, prepared to deliver the killing blow. "Brutus, no!" Reed appeared, the tranquilizer gun raised. Not aimed at Brutus, but pointed at his own neck. "You kill him, I kill myself," Reed said in English. "And you know what that means. You'll be alone here forever. No one left who understands you. No one left who knows you're more than just an animal." Brutus froze, staring at Reed with those intelligent eyes. The honey badger understood leverage, understood bargaining. This was a negotiation, not a threat. "Let him live," Reed continued. "Let me tranquilize you peacefully. I swear on everything I am, I will get you home safe." For a long moment, nothing moved. The fortress held its breath. Then slowly, Brutus stepped back from Oren. He looked at Reed and made a sound, not quite a growl, not quite acceptance, but it was enough. Reed lowered the tranquilizer gun from his own neck and aimed it at Brutus instead. "I'm sorry, buddy. This is going to sting." He fired. The tranquilizer dart hit Brutus in the shoulder. The honey badger snarled, stumbled, but did not attack. Enhanced metabolism fought the drugs, but chemistry eventually won. Brutus collapsed slowly, his eyes never leaving Reed's face. In those eyes, Reed saw accusation and forgiveness, anger and trust, all mixed together in the complex mind of Earth's most dangerous creation. "I'll keep my promise," Reed whispered as Brutus's eyes closed. "I swear I'll keep my promise." The battle was over. The hunt had ended. And the honey badger, for the first time since escaping, allowed himself to stop fighting. High Command arrived in a fleet of warships that dwarfed the fortress. The delegation included admirals, scientists, and political officials who needed to understand how a single Earth creature had nearly destroyed a military installation. They assembled in the fortress's main conference chamber, which had survived the chaos relatively intact. Brutus lay sedated in a maximum security containment unit, visible through reinforced transparent walls. Even unconscious, he looked dangerous. Scars marked his fur from dozens of battles. His claws, still stained with Dominion blood, seemed designed for nothing but destruction. Medical scanners showed his enhanced physiology healing damage even while sedated. The Admiral studied him with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Casualties?" the lead admiral asked, her voice cold. 47 soldiers dead, 83 wounded, 12 permanently disabled, Commander Oren reported from his medical bed. His injuries would heal, but his career was finished. Facility damage estimated at 70 million credits. 3 entire sections require complete reconstruction. And this was caused by one animal weighing approximately 30 pounds? Enhanced, Oren corrected weakly. Genetically modified by Earth scientists for intelligence, strength, and aggression. The Admiral turned to Reed, who stood in restraints with Officer Lena beside him. "Explain why Earth creates such weapons." Reed met her gaze steadily. Brutus wasn't created as a weapon. He was designed as a guardian for colony worlds. Earth has dangerous wildlife. Our settlements need protection. Honey badgers are naturally fearless and territorial. We enhance those traits for a specific purpose. And that purpose is now our prisoner of war, the Admiral said. We will be transporting this creature to our primary research facility for study. The Empire needs to understand Earth's biological enhancement capabilities. "No," Reed said firmly. Everyone in the room turned to stare at him. Prisoners did not say no to admirals. "You don't have the authority to refuse," the Admiral said dangerously. "I have the only authority that matters," Reed replied. "If you want Brutus alive, you need my cooperation. Honey badgers can die from stress. Enhanced honey badgers even more so. Without me managing his care, he'll either kill himself trying to escape or his enhanced metabolism will shut down from psychological trauma." The Admiral studied Reed carefully. "Are you bargaining with us?" "I'm stating facts. You have 17 human prisoners in this fortress plus me. I'm offering you a deal. Release all of us in exchange for Brutus. You get to study him safely, we get to go home, everyone wins." "We could simply torture the information from you," one of the political officials suggested. "You could try," Reed agreed, "but torture makes honey badgers very angry. Even sedated, Brutus might sense my distress. Do you really want to test how deep our bond goes?" It was a bluff, but a good one. The Dominion officials had learned to respect Earth's biological weapons, even if they hated admitting it. The Admiral conferred with her advisors quietly, then turned back to Reed. "We agree to your terms with modifications. You and the other human prisoners will be released to a neutral space station, not directly to Earth. We will retain the creature for study, but you will provide detailed instructions for its care. Any deception and the deal is void." Reed nodded slowly. It was the best offer he would get. "I want to see him one last time before we leave." They allowed it under heavy guard. Reed approached Brutus's containment unit alone, while Lena and a dozen armed soldiers watched from a distance. The honey badger was still sedated, breathing slowly, peaceful for the first time in weeks. "Hey, buddy," Reed said softly, pressing his hand against the transparent wall. "I kept my promise. You're going somewhere safe. They'll study you, but they won't hurt you. And maybe someday, when the politics calm down, you'll get to go home." Brutus's ear twitched at the sound of Reed's voice, some part of him aware even in sedation. "You did something incredible," Reed continued. "You showed the entire galaxy what Earth is capable of. Every world in the Dominion Empire now knows that we don't just build ships and weapons. We understand biology, evolution, survival at a level they can't match. You're a legend now, the honey badger who invaded an empire." Lena approached quietly, standing beside Reed. "You really care about that creature, don't you?" "He's not a creature. He's Brutus. He's smart, loyal, and braver than anyone I've ever known. Reed smiled sadly. And he proved something important today. What's that? That Earth still dominates the wild. We evolved on a planet so dangerous that everything had to become a survivor. The Dominion Empire conquered worlds through technology and numbers. Earth conquered itself through adaptation and refusal to quit. That's the difference. The Admiral overheard this conversation through monitoring equipment. She made a note in her official report, one that would circulate through Empire intelligence networks and eventually reach every military installation. The note read, "Earth possesses biological weapons beyond our technological capability to contain. Recommend extreme caution in all future human contact. Their enhancement of natural species suggests capabilities we cannot predict or defend against. The incident at Talos 7 demonstrates that underestimating Earth's biological warfare potential is catastrophic." That single note would change galactic politics forever. Reed and the other human prisoners were loaded onto a transport ship 3 days later. As they prepared for departure, Reed looked back at the fortress one final time. Somewhere in that damaged structure, Brutus slept in containment, dreaming whatever dreams enhanced honey badgers have. "Do you think he'll be okay?" Lena asked. She had volunteered to escort the prisoners to the neutral station, claiming it was for security purposes. Really, she wanted to understand humans better. "Honey badgers are survivors," Reed said. "Brutus will adapt. He'll probably figure out how to escape that containment eventually, cause another disaster, and remind them again why Earth is dangerous." Lena smiled slightly. "High Command has assigned me to study Earth biology and defensive capabilities. I'll be requesting permission to visit your planet. You'll hate it," Reed warned. "Everything there is trying to kill you. Insects, plants, animals, weather, microscopic organisms. Earth is beautiful and absolutely lethal. Sounds fascinating." The transport ship departed, leaving the fortress behind. As they accelerated toward the neutral station, Reed received a communication from Earth's diplomatic corps. They had heard about the incident and wanted full reports. The political implications were enormous. Earth had been a relatively minor player in galactic politics, valued for manufacturing and resources, but not considered a serious military threat. Brutus had changed that calculation. Now every empire and federation wanted to know what other biological weapons Earth possessed. The truth, which Reed would never tell them, was that Brutus was an experiment. One of dozens of enhancement projects Earth scientists were developing. Honey badgers were just the beginning. There were enhanced bears designed for heavy combat, enhanced octopi for underwater warfare, enhanced birds for reconnaissance, even enhanced bacteria for silent sabotage. Earth had spent millions of years evolving creatures to survive impossible conditions. Human scientists had simply accelerated and directed that evolution. The results were weapon systems no alien technology could predict or counter. At the neutral station, Reed and the other prisoners were processed and given passage home. They would arrive as heroes, their survival against Dominion captivity celebrated across human colonies. Reed's role in ending the Brutus incident would make him famous, though he did not want the attention. On the fortress, scientists began studying Brutus with careful reverence. They kept him sedated but monitored his vital signs constantly. His enhanced healing showed no signs of degrading. His muscle density was increasing even in sedation. Whatever Earth had done to create him, the modifications were permanent and evolving. One scientist examining cellular samples made a discovery that terrified him. Brutus's DNA contained markers suggesting he could reproduce, potentially passing his enhancements to offspring. If honey badgers with his capabilities bred naturally, Earth could create an entire species of super predators. He reported this to the Admiral, who immediately classified the information at the highest level. The implications were too dangerous to share openly. If Earth's enhanced creatures could breed, then biological warfare had entered a new evolutionary phase. The Admiral added another note to her report. Recommend immediate diplomatic negotiations with Earth. Their biological capabilities represent an existential threat if weaponized against us. Suggest treaty limiting enhancement research in exchange for technology sharing. The Dominion Empire, which had never negotiated with weaker species before, was preparing to treat Earth as an equal, all because of one honey badger. Months later, Reed received a message on a heavily encrypted channel. It contained a single video file with no explanation. He opened it carefully, expecting official communications. Instead, he saw Brutus. The honey badger was awake in his containment unit, studying the walls with intelligent eyes. As Reed watched, Brutus approached the transparent barrier and pressed his paw against it, exactly where Reed had touched during their farewell. The message was clear. I remember. I'm waiting. I'll survive. Reed smiled, tears in his eyes. That's right, buddy. You survive. That's what Earth creatures do best. He sent the video to Earth's Enhancement Research Division with a simple message. Project Guardian successful. Subject demonstrates sustained cognitive enhancement and emotional bonding. Recommend expansion of program. The response came within hours. Approved. Beginning Phase 2 enhancements across multiple species. Earth's Biological Dominance Initiative is now Priority 1. The galaxy did not know it yet, but the age of technology-based warfare was ending. Earth had remembered something the advanced civilizations had forgotten. Evolution was the universe's oldest and most effective weapon system. And honey badgers, as always, did not care about anyone's opinion on the matter. They just survived, adapted, and proved that Earth's wild legacy could never be fully tamed or defeated. In a containment cell on Talus 7, Brutus began methodically testing the strength of his barriers, searching for weaknesses, learning the patterns of his guards. He had all the time in the world, and honey badgers were very, very patient when they needed to be. The Empire would learn that lesson eventually. They all would.